Hello, my name is Damien Raftery and I teach at the Institute of Technology Carlow in Ireland. In this ECOTS 2020 virtual poster, we'll look at how making predictions engages everyone. Eric Mazur said, "It doesn't make any difference what we do in front of the students. They learn next to nothing." So our challenge is to engage all our students, to foster curiosity. Watch this short video from Dan Meyer carefully. What do you want to know? Trixie the dog has burst 25 balloons in 5 seconds. The question my students usually have is how long will it take Trixie to burst all 100 balloons? I capture the individual student answers, and the most common prediction is usually 20. Evidence of using a linear model in their thinking. After discussing with peers, we watch the whole video, and the students can see that it does take a little bit longer. Curiosity stimulates learning. In a recent paper, Broad and Breitwieser conclude that their experimental results suggest that generating a prediction stimulates curiosity. So a good strategy is to ask students to make a prediction before telling them the answer, or even better, showing them the answer like in Dan Meyer's video. So getting students to make predictions engages their interest, their intrinsic motivation, encouraging them to see an intellectual need for statistics and statistical thinking. And hopefully this approach helps create a culture of learning from mistakes and surfacing misconceptions that students may have, like adding before multiplying or applying a linear model when it is not appropriate. We want to engage everyone, to encourage everyone to think more. More generally, James Lang presents a strong evidence base for the benefits to learning of making predictions. So we want to present scenarios to our students to get them to pause, to think a little, predict, to make a prediction, ideally captured anonymously with a classroom response system, and ponder, to think a little bit more, to reflect, maybe to consider the responses of others, and to discuss with peers. Indeed, Craig Barton also stresses the importance of reflecting and self-explanation before discussion would appear. So, for some examples. My first class was in this room last year. I want all my students to be engaged and to be comfortable with making mistakes. So, one icebreaker is to estimate the size of the room. They can share and discuss their answers, how they made their prediction, and if they think their estimate is accurate. This then brings in mathematical thinking, mathematical formula for area, the importance of units, and the use of an estimate to check if a more formally calculated answer is reasonable. In this example, we can see the impact of a question wording on survey results. So reducing the voting age from 18 to 16 has 37% support. And the same question, phrased slightly differently, giving 16 to 17-year-olds the right to vote. Do you think this would get higher support or lower support? Indeed, it has substantially higher support, and we can discuss in class why this might be so and the importance of wording questions carefully. The classic birthday problem, counterintuitive with students voting on different probabilities. This leads to a discussion of slowing down, using System 2 and rational thinking, then linking to using statistics and maths to make better decisions under uncertainty. Early in the term, I do an online survey of my students. One of the questions is to ask for an estimate of my age. The idea being that students then have more interest when exploring data that they've contributed to. In this survey, one of the questions is to estimate the population of Argentina, but each student gets randomly asked before it either whether or not the population of Argentina is more or less than 10 million or more or less than 50 million. And this generates interesting data that we can explore in class. For the next academic year, I want to start using Fermi problems, like this one from David Spiegelhalter's book, How Many Trees in the World? Or How Many Cats in the World? From Rob Eastaway. These are great for highlighting the difficulties of counting and the importance of clear definitions. I also want to think about how to use predictions to surface many of the misconceptions that my students may have, and how to adapt the approach of Hans Rosling, a master of engaging audiences, by asking multiple choice questions to challenge assumptions about the world. So I encourage you to ask your students to make predictions, to pause, to predict, to ponder. And thanks for listening. Please post your thoughts and share any examples that engage your students.